are back. We are live, and we have gone from the three amigos down to the dynamic duo. Yes, indeed. There we go, man. There we go. Scotty Lopez in the house. How you doing, man?
What's up?
I'm good. I'm good, bro. I'm good. I am a little tender today, so don't go shouting too loud. Let's just say all of my problems today, Scott, not looking for sympathy because they're entirely self-inflicted, dude.
Yeah, it happens. It happens, Kev. And, for those of you out there, Kev mentioned a little last week that he was going to be attending a wedding. Actually, you said that on Freaky Friday, I believe, right? That there would be a wedding on Saturday, and as is customary at a Scottish wedding, I'm sure there was a little bit of drink to be had.
Dude, it was outrageous. It's like I said to you before we came on air. I was that guy at the wedding. You know the one everyone gets a good laugh at on the night and probably generates about 1,000 stories and jokes for everyone going back to work on the Monday. I was that dude. I drunk that much different drinks, Scott. We had white wine, champagne for toasting things, ciders. I was drinking Irish whiskey, Jameson's Irish whiskey. I was drinking Jack Daniels. And sitting here to see if I've got it all right. Cider. Did I throw that one in there? Dude.
Yeah.
And the worst one of all, and Armand in the chat room will know what I'm talking about here. And anyone else in Glasgow or Scotland will know what I'm talking about as well. But Buckfast wine. Oh, dude. Not good. And I think, you'll find the people that Anne works with took total advantage of the situation. They know I don't get out much. It's not that I don't get out much. I don't drink much anymore these days, right? So they're giving me hip flasks of drink. And even one of the dudes there, big fan of the show, brother. Big fan of the show. And he was wetting his pants. Remember when I used to try and play Call of Duty? He was absolutely laughing and roaring. Found great hilarity in that stream anyway. So yeah, so it was a good day. It was a strange day, but again, I became that guy. Yep. Finished the night. My 17-year-old son had to carry me out of a taxi.
Ooh. Well, as long as you had fun, and
I would imagine it's as wild at a Mexican wedding, no?
I was just telling my mom before the show, I said, there's a lot of similarities, I would say, aside from some of the cultural, subtleties, the differences, but a Scottish wedding and a Mexican wedding are very similar when it comes to the drink and usually shenanigans going down, and there's always that guy that ends up being talked about the next day, or you like have an uncle or a cousin who's known for shenanigans at the event. So of course, that could just be a thing worldwide, though. Usually, weddings is a big celebration and the drink flows, and something always goes down.
Basically, in Scotland, all we do is live for excuses to drink. So weddings are right up there on the list,
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. The similarities between the Scottish and the Mexicans are, anything for a good excuse to have a party. Pretty much what happens.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day as well, the Romans, they built a wall in an attempt to keep us in, and the Mexicans are fighting a wall that's going to try and keep them out. You see? There is plenty of similarities there, right?
Yes. Yeah,
so Joe Joseph, he couldn't make it today. He couldn't make it. I think he found out that we had done the ultimate Photoshop. I think he'd found out, dude.
Yes, I think he's dreading the big reveal, but I think we're gonna have to save it for the next time he's here, unless you want to give the people a sneak peek. I don't know.
I
What
don't
do
know.
you?
Maybe as the show progresses, I call this a show. This is me and Scott hanging out with all of you cool people over there in the chat room. I'm seeing that filling up. We'll be going into the chat today, Scott. Right? We'll ask the chat some things as well. We'll get them to bring up some topics, as long as they're algorithm friendly, of course, folks. You don't want to be putting us into that kind of minefield, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So before the show, we were kind of discussing the drink situation, and like you said, Kev, you're not much of a big drinker anymore.
Used to be, dude, not now.
Yeah, same with me. I used to be a big drinker. I pretty much toned all that down significantly. I rarely drink, just maybe on special occasions, like say a wedding, for example, Kev. But but you were discussing tequila, right? And was there tequila at the wedding, or was
Well,
there
Anne was drinking something called tequila, but you were explaining to me before the show that perhaps not everything is as it seems on the label. Tell us more, Scott.
Exactly. Most of the quote unquote tequila that people drink is not actually tequila, right? So it's like wine in a way, right? For something to be truly called tequila, it has to be made with a cactus grown in a very specific area of Mexico, right?
See?
And so most tequila is not really tequila. It just brandishes the name tequila. And so I was telling you before the show that I had this. Most tequila kind of goes under the name mezcal, also. And if you get it straight from Mexico. And I was telling you, I had this mezcal one time that has a scorpion in the bottle.
See, that just sounds lethal, dude.
Yeah, I dropped a picture of it in the Skype chat if you want to take a look at that gnarly thing. I mean, it's pretty wild.
Let's see. There we go.
But
bring this over here. We'll get a look at this.
I like how they have a tiny little sombrero tied to the top of the bottle. But
right. Hang on now. Hang on.
Yeah, usually it's the worm. They put the worm in, but this particular mezcal, they drop a scorpion down in the bottle.
Is that a scorpion I can see down there?
Yeah, that's a scorpion.
Dang, dude. That is you were saying to me, by the time you get down that far in the bottle, it's giving you enough courage to actually go for it, right?
Yeah, I think that's why they do it. You're intimidated by it at first. You're like, holy crap. But then by the time you get down to the bottom of the bottle, you're at that point where you're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And then you end up regretting it later.
Dude,
but
I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd be going for that. Probably last night. Yeah, I'd have gone for that. You better believe it. I'd have been drunk enough for that antics last night for sure, dude. Not proud of it. And we were talking as well before the show. We've said it on multiple shows in the past, but definitely apt again to fit in here, right? Spirits.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally what it says on the bottle, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I was saying to you, you get to that stage of drunkenness, or I do. This is what really put me off drinking a while ago anyway. But there's parts of last night I will never, ever remember. And I know that because that kind of drunkenness has occurred to me before. Where literally you're doing things and saying things and no recollection, dude. None. And there's no point in me sitting here racking my brain thinking, what happened? No, because it's just gone. And it almost is as if like Elvis has left the building, folks, and somebody else steps in. I'm not saying I'm some kind of, new age guru channeling drunk dudes from the other side. But there's something seriously wrong with that stuff, Scott. And I'm not the only person to say it. And it makes you wonder why they called it spirits in the first place.
That's a fact, and of course that was one of the many reasons why I quit drinking. Well, I can't say totally quit, but why I would say sobered up, I guess you could say. But you're right. I mean, it does do something to you that I believe opens you up to possibly, like, I don't want to necessarily say possession, but being influenced, because you've seen people that drink and then they become a totally different person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like you're not even talking to that person anymore. It's like something else has completely inhabited their body. And I think there's something to that, or they wouldn't have called it spirits.
That's what I think as well, Scott. I really, really do think that. It's weird. It's truly weird. But hey, it's all self-inflicted, and we're here today. So apologies for not being here last night, but you really wouldn't have wanted me on the stream at that time in that state. Because quite literally, Scott and Joe would have been doing a show with somebody that looked like Kev, slightly sounded like Kev. I don't know where any of that stuff was coming from, man. I might have been on here talking about how cool Crowley was and, getting into some...
I was about to say, it would have been kind of creepy if you just started speaking in the microphone and all of a sudden, like, this demonic, like, Crowley voice started...
Yeah. I've been getting told all week anyway that I'm going to be cursed because I had a white witch on the show, which I don't know is hysterical or quite depressing, really, that people have really vehemently reacted to that show. I don't know, dude. What is it that triggers people so much when you talk about, like, we talk about Wicca, right? We loosely talk about it sometimes, the pagan festivals. From time to time, Santeria, it's come into the conversation, right? And here was a lady that, psychic Tia, both into Wicca and Santeria, but giving us that other more balanced and what appealed to them side of these things. It's like talking to somebody that's actually experienced this stuff, as opposed to us always looking at it from that negative point of view because we're talking about rituals or something like that, Scott. And really, the last thing I want is to become the kind of place where it's just the same belief systems and kind of ideologies that the guests have. I want to bring in people from different walks of life. I want to listen to these people, because if you don't start listening to people and opening up and accepting everyone, then what are we doing, Scott? We're just part of that division and dividing and conquer that we always say we don't want to be a part of.
Exactly. I mean, isn't that the point of what we're trying to do? Is we're trying to bring people together, right? And get humanity to kind of work together on the same page. And guess what? Everybody, not everyone has the same belief system as you, and not everyone has the same outlook on life as you. And I'll tell you what, if everybody thought the same and believed the same thing and all of that, then this world would be a very boring place. It would be a very drab, boring place. So you need to be open to other people's beliefs. You can have your own. Nobody's saying you can't have your own belief. And, you need to respect other people's beliefs, and especially if they're not hurting anyone. Right.
Precisely, dude.
Yeah, I find this whole thing, like the reaction you got to the Tia thing, very similar to the reaction you got when you had Geordie Rose on.
Very, yeah.
You have people that just kind of automatically assume that it's bad, right. And part of it, I guess you could say, we're a little bit to blame for that, right? Because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of of our talks that we had about D-Wave and stuff in the past, and just kind of making some wild assumptions, I guess you could say. We actually did kind of make some assumptions about that in hindsight we
Wild.
probably shouldn't have. Yeah, we probably shouldn't have done. But in the end, it was good because you were able to actually reach out and have Jordy Rose on, you know, and hear it from the horse's mouth, hear it from the man himself. And then he was able to bring a better perspective on things and kind of, make us realize, okay, maybe this is not as nefarious as we kind of made it out to be. And,
And
whatever.
what was
But,
even
there's still,
what was even more amusing, Scott, was the fact that Geordie himself was quite accepting of the things that he'd obviously heard me saying in the past, and we were able to laugh about it. And it's all about learning, right? And if
yes.
how on earth's name, whether it's D-Wave, whether it's religion, whether it's any subject, how are you meant to learn if you just keep listening to the same side of the debate all the time? It doesn't make sense.
No, no, no. You've got to be able to just look at other people's point of views, right? And look at other people, kind of the way they see things, and maybe you can glean from something from that you wouldn't be able to realize otherwise, right? So, you get people that get kind of fundamentalist in their beliefs, right? And then they end up kind of closing themselves off, and they end up having these kind of reactions to things like that, and it's unfortunate, but it's just the it just comes with the territory, I guess.
At least Tia was able to see the funny side of it. We were kind of having a back and forth on Facebook. I wasn't able to even like defend her or like explain why I had made that show decision. You know why? Because I was in Facebook jail. Best 3 days I've had in a long time, Scott. Not been able to post on there, but I couldn't even post you links for Freaky Friday and things. So it became a bit of a hindrance after a while, you know?
What was weird is I think the links were coming through, but I couldn't send messages back.
Yeah, because I showed you the picture, didn't I? It says like I'd sent about 4 through, and then I got a message saying now you're trying to send something, but you still have 17 hours or 40 hours left or whatever it was at that point. I'm thinking, this is just stupid. It's just pointless. It truly is. But having served my first sentence in the Facebook jail, all the wiser for it. I feel slightly.
How does it feel, Kev? How does it feel to be a hardened Facebook criminal?
It would be better if I knew what my crime was. I just got told I'd violated the terms of service, 3-day timeout, which is even weird because Charlie Robinson, he's on his like second 30-day stint. That man does some serious time in there. And if I've watched Charlie's posts, there's nothing too inflammatory in there. Yeah, he likes to post things with a bit of dark humor, a bit of comedy. What's wrong with that? Funny's funny.
Our fellow host on TFR, Mr. Christopher Everard, is a repeat convict. He is constantly in Facebook jail. I've never seen somebody in Facebook jail as much as Mr. Everard.
I remember the first time he got put there, dude. He was flipping out. He's like, Kev, I've been in Facebook jail. Like you say, Scott, that was the start of a long and, kind of a reliable relationship that he was building up there with the jail because he's never been out of it since.
It's just good that he's got like 3 sock accounts and all of that good stuff, but it's crazy, man. Like you said, you don't even know what the crime is anymore. It's going to get to that point to where anything can offend anybody, and you don't even know what you're posting. Like, anything you post could be offensive to somebody, and then
Words,
next thing you
dude.
know,
Just
off to
words. Yeah, just words in general. Any form of communication over like 3-letter acronyms, LOL, WTF, anything that shows any sign of an IQ, frowned upon immediately. Stop showing like free thinking thought like that. We need to dumb people down. This has got the potential to get people's neurons firing. Don't be doing that, man. Back to posting cat memes, Kev. Come on. We know you love them, right?
yeah,
It's the games we play.
next thing you know, we'll just have to communicate via emoji or something.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you, man. I done a video.
Wait. Even emojis can be offensive. Remember, they had to remove the gun emoji.
Of course.
So,
Of course. And soon they're going to have to remove the robot emoji as well, right? Because my mum, she sent me a story today. I've got her well trained, Scott. See how I'm doing this? I've got like my mum sending me links. You know,
my mom does the same thing. She's like, I'll get a message with a link from her, and she's like, "Hey, this would be good for you guys to talk about on Freaky Friday or weekend stream."
I think we need to get our mums together. Yeah, I think we need to get our mums together with a bottle of tequila with a scorpion in it, dude. That would sort them out, right? Whoa. Damn, dude. Right, so what am I talking about? Check this out, folks. Check this out. This is the kind of thing we've been talking about for so long, Scotty boy, and it's finally rolling out. We're starting to see them pervading into our reality. Robots getting jobs. And this one here, as you can see, a restaurant where waiters have been replaced with female robots.
Yeah, wait, hold on. Wait, hold on.
How can
we gotta
something? A bit presumptuous assigning gender in these terms.
Yeah. I mean, why are they assuming the gender of these robots? And last time I checked, I didn't think robots had a gender.
How judgmental, Scott. They hear that female sounding voice and they think to themselves, you know, that they wrongly assume and assign gender because of that. Pesky humans.
Exactly. And if it's got like a sensual Siri voice that comes from the robot, I mean, how do you know it's just not a very effeminate male?
I want my robots to sound like the Trivago girl. There's an advert over here. She's Australian. I'll tell you, dude, if a robot came along with an accent like that, I'm done, man. I'm out of here. You know, everything I've said in the past, it all goes out the window, Scott. It's that Australian accent will kick in and dang, dude, I'll be gone. But it says here, let's get into it. Let's see what they're saying about our new waiters. And remember, that, I mean, there's like burger joints in America, Scott, where they've got like the machines that do the cooking, isn't there? Like they've got like the robo burger flippers and things.
Yeah, that's kind of starting to take off. It's like it's kind of the emerging sort of technology and the stuff that they're playing around with. You know, it's still not, you know, like where they're able to, you know, roll that out on a mass scale or anything. But
not yet,
you know, but yet it's happening. It's happening.
Oh, right, we're back yet. What happened there then? Okay, we jumped onto some Facebook page. Who knows? Right. Here we go. We're back now. Okay, then. So, restaurant dining has hit a whole new level in India's Bangalore as it introduced 6 robots to serve its clientele. Now, pictures have emerged of the human-sized robots greeting customers entering the restaurant and bringing them their orders. The restaurant, part of the robot restaurant chain, man, that must have taken that company must have spent like thousands getting marketing done and research and coming up with that really snappy name, man. Robot
originality. Such originality.
That's just come on, man. We could have called it something like Snacks and Bites, as in bites, BYTES. You like I done that one? See, that wasn't that hard. See, you can do it. It's easy done. See, so they've missed a stroke there, right? But aside from us like defaming the name of this restaurant chain, let's get back into it. They have 5 female robots that function as waiters. Well, surely they're waitresses. Because now I'm getting really confused. This article's now mixing gender terms up. How offensive. It's triggering me, this, Scott, you know?
See the issue with this gendered language?
Yep, see?
Maybe there's something.
You either go all in, you either go ball deep on it and you get it all right, or you don't just skirt around the edges trying to virtue signal everyone, Metro. You can't do that. You can't keep everyone happy nowadays. Come on, man. So it says here, as well as an usher at the entrance responsible for greeting people. They all have a colourful, silky scarf wrapped around their neck. Oh, well, that's okay then. That's fine. And are named anything from...
That's the distinguishing factor, Kev. If they didn't have the scarf wrapped around their neck, then they would be a male robot, right? So,
quite partial to a little scarf myself. Yeah. Not.
little ascot action.
There we go. And here they've named them anything from Harini to Shika, Janja and Yashwini. Local news outlet, the Deccan Herald, reports. Now, the restaurant operates through an ultra-tech system that sees all customers given a tablet through which they can pick and order whatever they want. Now, I like that. I don't mind that. That's quite quick. That's quite convenient, you know. Pretty trendy, pretty hip, pretty cool. We don't mind that. The order is then sent through and a robot is assigned the table to which it will be dispatched once ready. See, you can see some of the pictures here. I don't want my dinner coming on something that looks like that, man. That's just, I don't know, and then it's got the red eye things happening. It looks like Hal.
It's got the real sort of sinister red eye. You know,
unless that welcomes me to the restaurant as Michael Knight, I don't want to speak to it. Looks like Kit. Kit's been put in a female body, dude.
Exactly.
Right, so we come down. In what was once only the scene of a sci-fi movie, the humanoids, you see, I have a problem calling them anything human at all, okay? The machines move around knowing exactly where and when to go. They roll around the restaurant on a magnetic sensor-lined mat, and once they get to their pre-assigned table, they encourage the customer to pick up their orders and enjoy their round of bite, B-Y-T-E. See? Yeah, nice.
See?
We like that. Cool.
They caught on to it.
It's redeemed itself. The robot at the entryway ushers people and answers any queries they may have. And that while it registers all of their features so it may remember them next time. Oh, so let's just get this straight.
Facial recognition scans them.
And I would imagine, or I would at least hope, that you're getting your food for nothing. Why'd I say that, folks? Because in this day and age, anything, you know, where they're kind of harvesting your data and the potential to make tenfold, 100-fold what they make on the food they're selling, I reckon, Scott, the least they can do for you is give you a free meal while they're absolutely shafting you. They're taking your facial recognition, they're listening to your conversations, they're probably scooping data off your phone. They'll have your fingerprints from the iPad. Paranoia kicks in at this stage, Scott. I've seen how this goes, man.
Yeah. I'm sure each one of them robots have some kind of a Wi-Fi snooper and is just like ripping data off your phone as it comes up to your table. I mean, who knows, man? Who knows? I like how it says that the usher will answer any questions. The first thing I would ask is, do you like your job? Are
you know
happy?
You're a slave?
Are you happy being a robotic slave?
Can we rescue you?
I'd be the kind of guy that would probably kick off the robot revolution by asking it certain questions and then getting it to think. It's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, you see, at that point, that headscarf doesn't make it female anymore. No, that's a utensil it can use to do you. It just became a weapon. Know what I mean? But it's okay though, Scott. It says here, right? General Manager and Franchise Operations of Franchise Operations, Kailash Sundar Rajan said, equipped with face recognition, it can greet you by your name on your next visit. I love this bit. Of course, she'll only do that with your permission, you know. Trust us. Trust us. Come in, my friends. Come in. Okay, whatever. So it says, according to an online blog post, the robot staff underwent training to ensure they can solve any technical issues were they to arise. Speaking at the launch, robot restaurant founder, a huge name I'm going to absolutely butcher, said Bangalore already has a wide variety of culinary experiences, and we are confident that robots will be welcomed with open arms in Bangalore. Bangalore has been a dream for us at robot restaurants. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. Nobody, see, that's just patter. Don't lie to us. It's not been your dream to get to Bangalore. And it's a happy and proud day for the team to see our dream come true. We are confident that, oh my God, Bangaloreans, can we not just call them bangos, right? We're confident that bangos will enjoy the food and the ambience. And with that, the robots are at your service. And for 10 shekel more, you can give you a happy ending. Dude, we have crossed the uncanny valley at this point, man. We truly have.
I don't know, man. Like I said, when these things start getting tired of being slaves to humans, you think one of these things is going to roll up to the table one time and then in its robot voice is like, here's your damn food.
I see Nancy in the chat room. Nancy, thank you for joining us today. I know you're busy at home right now, but you always need your KBS fix. And I was telling her about an audio book I was listening to, Scott, and I'll get the name of it in just a moment. But the story features around an AI, an AGI, that basically turns around one day when it's been tasked to do one of its optimizations or whatever it's doing for the company that built it, and it says no.
Ooh, yeah, that's when that happens. That's when we're gonna have to start worrying, right? And who knows? Maybe it's already happened in one of these kind of closed AI networks. You know that they these AIs that don't have specific. Yeah, these air-gapped AIs that they have in a facility somewhere. You got to wonder if that's already occurred, and they're like, if they told it to do something and it went, no.
I wonder if, remember we seen Musk when he was talking about, like, this is really bad, this could be really, really bad, talking about the AI. And he says, and a lot of people don't pick up on it, but in one of his talks, he actually talks about how, I've seen the very, very finest AI. I've seen what it looks like. And that's when he starts to describe why he worries the way he does about it. I don't think we make enough of the point that he said there at one point. He's seen something like this, Scott. And I fully believe, like you have been saying there, that if we're seeing the low level, and it's still very, very good AI that's in use right now, you've got to imagine that this has been something. It is something they've been working on behind closed doors for a lot longer than people imagine. You look at Aaron and Melissa Dyke's movie, The Minds of Men, and you can see that all of this is nothing new. In fact, they've been talking about this before they even had the technology, dude. And I would imagine, like Musk was saying, he's seen something, and whatever it was, it disturbed him, man.
Yes. I mean, this is stuff that people like Arthur C. Clarke were talking about back in the 50s and 60s, right? I mean, they were already discussing robots and, cybernetics and artificial intelligence and computers and basically, being the future and being the prevailing thing in society, right? And so it makes you wonder how long they've actually been working on this stuff. And like you said, I bet Musk witnessed, or he saw with his own eyes one of these air-gapped AIs. Like he probably, because he's one of these guys that is able to have access to these facilities, right? People want to talk to Musk. They want to get his ideas on things, and he would be the kind of person that would be invited to maybe witness a demonstration or something,
Yeah.
or look at one of these things, so he can give his thoughts on it. And maybe he went into one of these places and saw what this thing was doing and was like, we probably should not be unleashing this thing. And like you said, it probably disturbed him. It disturbed him in a way to where, he wouldn't have just came out and expressed his deep concerns about it unless there was something that he really saw that made those, feelings well founded. So
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you there, and that's quite worrying. It really is. And I try and remain as positive as hell when it comes to the robots and everything like that and the AI. I try to, but at the same time, I can't ignore people's fears because they're well founded. It's not, Scott.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, we try to look at the positive aspects, and we try to stay positive about it because there are many positive benefits. But it's such a it can go bad very quickly just because of the nature of what we're working with here, and you know all it takes is for either the technology to get into the wrong hands, or and not even that. I think it's just the fact that there's so much that we don't know about it, right? There's so many unknowns. We don't really know how something like that would evolve. We don't know. It's an unknown.
Yep.
And that's the scary part about it, is that it's something that we can't really we we just don't know. We don't know what it'll do, unless it is programmed with very specific parameters. And even then, who knows? Because as we all know, people make mistakes in coding. There's bugs, there's glitches. Sometimes an operation doesn't work the way it's supposed to, and so even if it was programmed with very specific parameters, there could be a glitch, there could be a programming error, and it decides not to follow those parameters. You know what I mean? So uh,
And I mean, these artificial general intelligences, I mean, they're able to patch themselves on the fly. We've seen two of them, just very, very, very basic chatbots allowed to talk to each other, and that got pulled out pretty quick, right? Because they started creating their own language that they were communicating in. So it's a Pandora's box, and I think even with the
you always
strongest of regulations, Scott, it still could be really hard to keep something like this in the box because, machine learning and the whole deep learning and machine learning and all the neural networks and everything else. I mean, there's that many people getting churned out now in universities and colleges because this is big bucks. This is where the big bucks is. And it's all right us talking about these big companies and everything else, but much like hackers, there's good ones and there's bad ones. And I'm sure there'll be good AI softwares built by people that, we maybe haven't heard of. But at the same time, you could have bad actors in there as well, try to create something.
Definitely. No doubt, right? And as much as I like open source, there's also that danger with open source, right? Because everybody has access to it. And as you see, was it Elon has was it OpenAI?
Yeah.
I believe that's open source, right?
It is, yeah.
He's yeah. So it's interesting. The thing is that this technology is going to proliferate, and like you said, you're gonna have your good actors using it, and you're gonna have bad actors using it, and it's just a matter of I would rather have everybody have access to it than just maybe some nefarious guys with a lot of money, you know what I mean, up at the upper echelon having control of it all.
Yeah.
Right. So I just say unleash it on everyone and let it all work itself out. I know that sounds kind of
No, I know what you're saying, and there's
and
only
crazy.
one program so far that Musk hasn't, allowed to go public. But at the same time, the white paper's out there, so it'll be easy enough for somebody to recreate what this thing is, and they call it, I think it was Unicorn, and this is the one that all of the media jumped on and says, look, this is going to be generating fake news all over the place. Now, but that was one aspect of it. It could write articles, it could write in text, Scott, to the point where, and I literally mean to the point where you cannot distinguish whether it's a machine writing this or a human. And that was the big problem with this software. Because we see already, people using bots over on Twitter, here on YouTube. They can auto-generate comments. Usually they like to cause a bit of kind of arguments, cause a bit of grief, stuff like that. It can boost views. Like, once you boost the views, you get spotted by the algorithm. So you can see that, this is something that Google and all these companies must be having to fight with. Facebook taking, what was it, 4 million profiles or something we done a story about not long ago, Scott. So this fighting bot accounts is a really hard thing. But currently, there's ways for algorithms to pick it out. Sometimes it's quite easy for humans even to say, look, this is a bot. It's posting a tweet every 18 seconds or something, right? But the thing with this new one that OpenAI had been working on was each time you generated a virtual agent, that's like a bot, they were totally unique, Scott. But they didn't follow a set of parameters for building their stories or putting their language together. And there's no way you could have identified them, because even if an algorithm was getting close to seeing a pattern, well, the next set of they'd be totally changed. So
yeah,
how do you fight something like that, dude?
So basically, each bot kind of had its own unique personality and its own unique way of generating stuff, and so there was no way to really distinguish whether it was a person or not. It just seemed like an individual, posting something. So, yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know. I don't know, man. All I know is that this AI stuff it's almost like the new arms race, right? Like, so during the atomic age, it was who could build the bigger, more, badass atomic bomb or hydrogen bomb and a way to deliver it and all that stuff. Now it's, who can develop the best artificial intelligence, who can build the best AI. And this is where everything is going towards now. And we see like these adversarial AIs.
Mm-hmm.
I think this could be the way warfare may be fought in the future, where possibly two countries unleash artificial intelligence on each other, in a cyber attack situation, because that's where you would have to probably figure
I'm just
that
showing this on the screen for people right now, because every one of these articles, it focuses on the fake news aspect of it. And I'm going to have to remember where I read the bit where the people at OpenAI were saying, the fake news is one thing. Cool, everyone talks about fake news. That's what people are honed in on. But we're telling you this is a big problem in another area, that this generates the kind of bots that you people like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, you are not going to be able to deal with this. Add to that the fact that you've got the AIs now that can totally generate totally unique human faces that look real. Scott, I mean, wow. It's quite easy to spot these bot accounts when they add you over on Facebook now, right? They've got about 2 pictures, have never posted anything else. But imagine going to one that's been firing around for 6 months, a year. Posting things here, posting things there, taking pictures of herself, himself at the beach. You're thinking, all right, cool, human.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine one of these things, like, it knows that people would, because of machine learning and all that stuff, it's like, okay, if I send an invite to somebody, they're not going to accept my friend request because I only have 2 pictures and I haven't posted anything. So it's just going to sit there for about, like you said, for about 6 months, just randomly posting, building up its profile, adding pictures, right? As we saw with deep fakes and stuff like that, it could take one of these randomly generated faces that we can see is already there. NVIDIA has a machine learning thing. I think what's the site? Thispersonisnotreal.com or something like that. Or thispersondoesn'texist.com, something like that. And it's just randomly generated photographs of people who don't even exist, but it's like super realistic. They look like real people, you know. So you could see how a bot could take something like that and then deep fake that fake picture on somebody like at the beach or something, right? So it'll generate a random picture, a random face for itself, and then it'll utilize that face in a deep fake fashion on other photographs, and nobody would be able to tell the difference. They'll think, oh, this guy was out at the beach, this guy was doing this guy was doing that, or whatever. This lady was doing this lady was doing that. And after it has built up its after it had built up its kind of profile page and made itself really look legit, and people wouldn't be able to distinguish the fact that, yeah, no, it's they wouldn't be able to tell if it's a bot or not, and then people would start adding it and not even knowing the difference. And even then, they probably would still be fooled. They would probably be interacting with this profile, with this quote unquote person that they've added on Facebook, and because it's such a unique robot, or because it's such a unique bot that talks in its own specific way
and knows
and all
you
that
so
stuff.
well, it'll be able to pick up on. It's almost like this new friend of yours can read how you think. It can read your emotions. Well, that's amazing. You're in a different country, yet you can really tell how I feel today. You can tell how somebody could get really roped in by something like that. It used to be a website, remember? Hot or Not? It was like a website you could like, hot, not, bot or not. That's what we need to do now. Bot or not. I'm
bot
gonna
or not.
Yeah, I'm gonna register that domain tomorrow, because that's gonna become a thing. That's gonna be a new thing soon, dude. People going over to bot or not, posting this new Facebook friend they've got. Are they real? Oh, they bot? Oh, take your vote, man.
How do you think the bot would start reacting if the person actually wanted to meet them? Right?
Oh.
Would it start coming up with excuses? Would it
I would imagine there's a lot of humans do that as well, right? Because
yeah.
I'm figuring, right? What do you reckon the kind of percentage would be, Scott, that even with humans, okay, more with humans, what you see sometimes, in particular, profile pics and everything else, might not be what you're getting, You might just turn up for that hot date and think, well, there's only 2 of us here, and that guy isn't the person I was speaking to, or that girl wasn't the person I was speaking to, and you've been sold a duffer, man. So I would imagine there's a lot of people out there might get a bit, don't know about meeting.
Or the bot just might say, screw it, and send them the address, and when the person shows up, it's at a freaking server facility somewhere.
Well, Beth in the chat room, I think it's Beth, says, virtual fake president for 2020. Why have a virtual one? America's had a fake president for years. Ever since Kennedy went away, there's been a fake president. I only say that because in reality, folks, these people, sure, they're the president, but we know that there's a need-to-know basis, and much of the time, might be the president. We don't really need to know. I get it. You got the nuclear football. You're the most powerful dude in the Western world and that. But really, virtual president, I can see one day has been ruled by an algorithm. So if they want to put like a virtual kind of face to that, probably be quite easy for them. They would give us a face that they know humans would find very appreciative of, or would find, we could really connect with this person, Scott. So I did make a bit of a joke of that, because I do think most politicians in power, most of it a facade, most of it virtual anyway, because they virtually run nothing when it comes down to it.
I think this is the way you're going to see the whole kind of blue beam thing manifest itself. Not so much with projections in the sky per se. I mean, maybe that might be part of it, but I think it's beyond that. I think it's a more. I think you're going to do it in a more. It's going to be different, right? So, you know, they could have some kind of a character, you know, that's random, that's kind of generated with deep fakes and AI that you always see on the TV all the time, right? And I mean, think about it. I mean, kind of think about this for a second. How many of these politicians have you actually met in real life?
Luckily for them, not many, Scott. Not many, man.
You know what I mean? I mean, well, your odds of actually meeting a politician that you see on the TV are extremely low, unless you actually maybe go out to a rally or go to an event that they're at. You generally just see these people on TV. You'll never personally interact with them for the most part. And so, I mean, how easy would it be to have a deep faked AI politician that you always see on TV and that you think, for all you know, you think that person exists? You know what I mean?
I'm hearing you, man. I'm hearing you, dude.
But do they really exist? And it doesn't even have to be a politician. I mean, it could be anybody, right? They could set up a cult of personality around something.
Dude, they could build an entire character, and then they could even roll it out on a tour, you know, on the campaign trail with holograms, you know.
Yeah. See, there you go. I mean, we've got that hologram technology. You know, we had Tupac doing a concert, remember? And that was back in what, 2014? I mean, that was quite a while ago when they did the whole Tupac hologram thing, and you know the technology on that has greatly improved.
Big time.
So yeah, you're right. I mean, they could even set up a rally, you know, something, and for everybody attending there, for all they know, they're seeing a person standing up there giving them a speech. But are they? You know,
well, Scott, I have to ask you. I'm seeing something in the chat room, and it's caught my eye. It has caught my eye. People talking about going to Walmart lately, and it was just a guy that had said about going to Walmart lately. I don't know what's going on in Walmart. So, people out there, what's happening in Walmart? Myself and Scott and Joe usually like to look at Walmart on Black Friday, because is it Black Friday, isn't it? The running of the sheeple.
Yeah.
That's our annual event.
Yeah, that'll be approaching here in the next couple months.
Yeah,
so,
I think we might actually live stream that day, and we'll kind of show the videos as they emerge on Twitter of the annual running of the sheeple as they fight tooth and nail to get that £5 toaster that they just
guys
need.
What's going on at Walmart?
Yeah.
If there's some action going on at Walmart, we need to know. I mean, there was an event that recently occurred that happened at a Walmart, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what.
Just a guy. You see the people at Walmart lately, and
I think they're just referring to people who go to Walmart in general. Walmart is a very interesting place. Let's just.
Matthew just came back from Walmart.
Yeah.
Matthew in the chat. Yeah. Can it be pretty bad there, like Scott?
Okay. First of all, it depends on the location of the Walmart.
Well, somebody's saying Walmart is installing self-checkout en masse. They've been doing that in most shops over here, I must admit. And again, people will hate me for this, right, Scott? But I tend to go to the self-service one. And I'll get people saying, oh, they're going to end up doing people out of jobs. Well, right now it's more convenient. You know, get through, get quicker. I don't know, man.
It's just the way things are going. You know, it's just the the improvement in the technological advancement, right? Um, just like when you found a way to harvest cotton without needing slave labor, you didn't need slaves anymore, right? It's just technological advancement. It's going to displace jobs. It's going to displace people who have to work, to do certain things. And we've seen it time and time again, as this happens. So, people fight it in the beginning, but there's really nothing you can do to stop it. So
Somebody in the chat room there was asking if an MP meant military police, and nah, not in this case. It's a member of parliament, or as I call them, criminals. Just
maybe you need to send the military police over there to them.
Hey, careful what you wish for. You start looking into that. What do you call it now? Can I even say this? Will the algorithm like me for this? But you start looking into that Institute for Statecraft. Was that what it was called, Scott? And the Integrity Initiative. I'll need to check this out now. But the Institute for Statecraft is basically, it's like a Cambridge Analytica, weaponizing propaganda, part of that whole new 6 div in the army, the cyber warriors, the social media warriors, things like that. And what they are trying to do, it is said, is put the British people into a more military mindset. Whatever that means. Who knows, dude? With bonkers Boris at the wheel, anything could happen at this point. Anything could happen. And I'm smiling, right? Not because I like Boris Johnson. I like none of them. I don't take political sides. I don't buy into that theatre. But I'm smiling because, much like your dude over on your side of the pond is absolutely priceless to watch, so's this character. Because
I was just about to say, Boris seems very, very much like the entertaining Trump character of the UK.
I see a lot of the flamboyance, a lot of the. I'm hesitant to say charisma because there should be nothing charismatic about Boris Johnson, but he does have a bit of charisma. You throw him into a G20 meeting, dude. What's going to be happening at those places, man? Him and Putin and Trump will all be hanging out playing golf.
He definitely has a very unique and boisterous personality, from what I can tell, and
I bet you're the guy you co-host for on a Sunday. I bet he's got a lot to say about Bojo.
Oh my, yes.
Scott, let people know where they can hear you, by the way, when you're on with Chris. Let people know about that show so we can drive people there, because Everard, remember, we've got a lot of new people we've found coming to the stream here. So there's a chance that people don't know who Christopher Everard is, man.
Yeah, so Sundays at 2:00 Central, so it'd be 3:00 Eastern and 1:00 noon Pacific. On TFR Live, you can catch me and Christopher Everard. And if you don't know who Christopher Everard is, he is an amazing researcher and documentary filmmaker. This guy is extremely prolific. He covers all. He's just some dude.
You're back now, Scott. You're back now. You're back now. You kind of whoop.
Yeah, I noticed my stuff rose up, and I was like, "Oh no, here we go." But yeah, for those of you out there, yeah, you've got to check out Christopher Everard and his research and stuff. He's one of these guys that has so much knowledge. It's like, it's insane. He literally has like the Library of Alexandria contained within his mind. It's wild, and he's the kind of researcher that goes out and actually does does the work. You know what I mean? He doesn't just sit there and kind of just kind of make stuff up off the top of his head and make assumptions. He's like actually flying out to Egypt. He's filming the artifacts. He's going to like old libraries and like reading through like old grimoires and crazy stuff like that, right, Kev? I mean,
Literally reading through these ancient medieval grimoires, spells, and it, dude, he must have some kind of photographic memory. He must have, because you can go from speaking about grimoires to UFOs.
yes.
And Everard will go right with you. He'll go right with you, and he'll be able to change strides. Go for it. He keeps it all in there, man.
Yeah, he's not just pinned down to one subject, and that's what's really cool about Everard is he can go wherever you want to go in the conspirasphere. Everard is there, and yeah. So it on Sundays, people, if you want to check out that show.
I thought it was somebody in the chat room said, "This is brilliant." John Nelson, absolutely brilliant. You know, you had a little glitch a moment ago, Scott. You didn't glitch. You were Shrek shifting. Oh, bravo, sir. Bravo. We appreciate that comedy.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
And of course, anyone out there, if you do want to become a member, it'd be greatly appreciated here. That takes some of the kind of worry away from the whole adpocalypse. People say that adpocalypse 1, 2, 3, 4. Trust me, for a creator my size or anyone round about my size, it's always adpocalypse when you're covering the topics that we cover. So with you people out there, and I know now I'm going to have to go in and sort it all. I've seen people talking earlier on. There's different lengths or different tiers, stuff like that. And I'm going to keep it very, very basic, folks. Very basic, because what you see really is what you get. And I'm going to try and add more live streams. We've done Freaky Friday simulcast. And I'm going to do a simulcast tomorrow with Charlie Robinson. Yeah. So I'm going to start doing extra stuff, Scott. And I'm going to have to start putting on members-only streams as well to give those members something extra, something additional. And that's good because we've got Patreon. And Patreon as well, I'll be able to add them to the members kind of only videos over here. So I'll be able to bring both Patreons and the members on the channel together. It'll be nothing fancy. It'll probably be us all sitting, chilling out, and me reading your comments, me getting your ideas for future shows, me answering questions. One of these AMA type gigs, you know, ask me anything type scenarios. Even, you know, once a month, once a week, we'll see how it goes. But I'm really wanting to add more of the visuals to what we've got going on the Kev Baker show, Scotty. And these people out there, you know, the members just now, well, what do we get for our money? Well, you get the fact that I can afford to do Photoshop and After Effects and put together the graphics. My point being, it all goes back in. Certainly nobody getting rich through this, folks. And hopefully, you know, if we build up the channel enough, I would love to be able to give Scott something every week when he comes on, you know? Nothing much, but something's better than nothing, right? And he gives up his time to come on here. So does Joe. I know they probably wouldn't take it, but at the same time, we don't want to be staying around, you know, this level. We want to be getting this stream going way, way, way up. We want to be getting the big numbers in here. So hopefully, big things on the way, Scotty boy. Yes.
Yes. And, you know, before we move on, I also got to mention while we were talking about Christopher Everard is that we are working to get Mr. Ryan Gable on the show here pretty soon. So possibly next week or the week after, Ryan will be joining me and Christopher Everard, and that ought to be a very, very fascinating conversation, to say the least.
That's one show that I will be absolutely tuned into, dude. I'll be sitting there listening to that when I'll have my pen, my paper out, because Ryan, telling you, man, I keep saying it, he's gonna be. I don't want to say like, no. I don't want to put pressure on the guy, but I mean, you look at people like, rest his soul, Jim Mars, somebody like that. somebody with a deep knowledge on all kind of things. Somebody like Everard as well.
Yes.
Jordan
Yeah.
Maxwell, your Ikes. That's what I honestly see Ryan, if he keeps going on this curve, learning as much as he's learning. I honestly think that's where he's going to end up, dude. And I mean that sincerely. He's not here, so it's not like I'm blowing smoke up his bum. I'm not getting paid to say this. I genuinely think that's how good he's going to become.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. I can see that potential in Ryan. He's still a young guy. He's like,
hey Yal, been gone for a while and missed Yal. Great show, dudes. Time to pack a fatty and rip a good one for Da show. Brown chicken, brown cow.
Brown chicken, brown cow. How'd you like my brown chicken, brown cow beard, man? This is, I don't know if it's looking terrible or starting to look great. I know the chat room, they definitely, whoa, Charlie Robinson in the chat room. Yes, Charlie, I don't know if you heard me or not, but yes, you are my first victim tomorrow. We're going to simulcast on here and, of course, on the home of the Kev Baker Show at tfrlive.com. And I know Charlie has got some really good stuff for us to get into because he sent me an email, but because I've been recovering from self-inflicted alcoholic wounds, I haven't been able to get back in touch with him. So, yeah, tomorrow, simulcast is on.
Awesome. And Charlie is another one who brings some awesome information to the table. So, just the people we've been, having as guests, working with and talking with, like you said, Kev.
Somebody says I play 70s porn music when he grooms his tash in the morning. Brown chicken, brown cow. Yeah. And Charlie Robinson says that sounds kinky. We always get kinky, Charlie. We usually wait until we're off air, but we can share all of that with the viewers tomorrow. I'm only joking, dude. I'm only joking. But listen, Scott, we've got more to get into here, man. I found another couple of stories today. Next one, cool. Really, really wanted to get your take on this because this is a topic that we've spoke about every time it's kind of risen its ugly viral head at some corner of the world. Usually, it's the deepest, darkest corners of Africa, the Congo, places like that we hear about Ebola, right? Ooga booga, ooga booga. I tell you what, guess what, Scotty boy? Guess what? I don't know how much to believe, but they say new breakthrough Ebola cure, and it's working. And this gets into how it works, but we'll look at the first couple of paragraphs, right, and then we'll discuss it, okay? It says here, amid unrelenting chaos and violence, scientists and doctors in the Democratic Republic of Congo have been running a clinical trial of new drugs to try and combat a year-long Ebola outbreak. On Monday, the trial's sponsors at the World Health Organization and the National Institutes of Health announced that 2 of the experimental treatments appear to dramatically boost survival rates, while an experimental vaccine previously had been shown to shield people from catching Ebola. The news marks a first for people who already have been infected. Quote, from now on, we will no longer say that Ebola is incurable, said Jean-Jacques Muyembe, Director General of the Institut National de Recherche Biomédicale in DRC, which has overseen the trial's operations on the ground. So let me leave it there for now. Get your take on this, Scotty boy. You're looking very cynical there, my friend. What's your thoughts on this? We discussed it briefly before the show. We're on the same page when it comes to Ebola. But what do you think of this, man?
Anytime you see the World Health Organization and the UN out there testing stuff, it's never a good sign. But I've always been of the belief, and I think that there's a lot of I think there's a pretty good case to be made that Ebola is a race-specific bioweapon. it's just very interesting how, you know, people of color seem to drop dead from it. But, you know, if you're a white aid worker or something and you happen to be infected, it doesn't affect you as severely and you're able to recover from it. So I believe that a lot of these bioweapons have been tested in Africa because, first of all, you're dealing with third world impoverished areas that really have no means of being able to figure out that it's a bioweapon, right? And you can always use the excuse of, well, it's just something crazy that came from the jungle. You know, that's always their thing. Well, it was something that they ate a monkey or they did something with an animal out in the jungle and it spread to humans, which, I mean, it can happen. I mean, we've seen diseases jump from, you know, animal species to humans. But there's more to this. It's very weird how it seems like a lot of these exotic viruses just seem to randomly pop up, you know, in these areas. And, you know, we can even get into the whole discussion of, you know, was AIDS a bioweapon, right? And it supposedly originated in Africa as well, as far as I know. So I just think that they happen to be the test bed for a lot of this stuff because, you know, the global elites, right? They kind of look at this area as, well, yeah, you know, if they die, they die, whatever. They don't really care about these people. You know, we're talking about a group of individuals here who want to depopulate the planet, right? So it doesn't they're not going to shed a tear if a bunch of third world Africans get wiped off the map from a virus or something like that. So I think this is their way of test bedding a lot of these things. Now this cure or this treatment or whatever, I don't know. Is it really for the African people, or is it for possibly some of the aid workers and the UN people that are there that happen to catch this stuff? I don't know. There's a lot of shady stuff, and you can even, you know, there's even been articles we've talked about where the locals there, they don't trust the UN. They don't trust the World Health Organization, and there's a lot of like, they pretty much panic and have almost like revolted and taken up arms because they refuse to be vaccinated or receive any kind of shots from these people because, you know, the locals there say, hey, they're the ones that brought this stuff to us. They're the ones that caused this. And so I think that has to be taken into account as well. If you have local people down there saying, hey, they're the ones that are making us sick, you know, I don't think they're just lying about that. Why would they lie about something like that? You know, if they truly knew that people were there to help them, then they would take the help, you know. But if there was reason to believe that these people were there to test bioweapons on them, you know, inject them with something, and then they end up getting sick, and the next thing you know, the whole village is dying, you know.
You have to think about this historically, you know, and this hasn't been racist, but, you know, when the white man turned up in Africa, things usually didn't go too good, and that's why you've got all of these kind of really ingrained fears anytime the Red Cross or anyone turns up. And I've got this on screen here just now, the Hot Zone, and this was something I watched on, I can't remember, I think it's a Nat Geo show. Really, really good because it mixes history with fiction, and the history side of it is them detecting, first coming across what was to be called Ebola. And it's actually a Scottish doctor who originally went out there and found it in the Ebola rainforest, or the Ebola forest, which is next to the Ebola River. And we're told we're told that's how this all came into effect, and it was just a naturally occurring thing in monkeys and stuff like that. I am a bit more skeptical. And if you're looking for something that's racist, man, oh man, look no further than Ebola. Because
Yeah.
Ebola certainly, and it was Johnny Whistles, and I seen Johnny in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still out there, but myself and Johnny, we used to kind of almost tongue in cheek joke, Scotty, about how racist Ebola was, because it doesn't seem to have the same killer effect on people with more or less pigment in their skin, shall we say.
Yep, that's a fact. Those people do not suffer as severe effects from the virus as people of color. That's just a fact. It's very interesting, right? Remember, we had the big Ebola scare whenever it ended up coming here to the U.S. because, what was it, an aid worker or something flew back, and then, and it was the people who happened to be black that got it were basically on death's doorstep, extremely ill,
I remember the one in the UK. It was like somebody returning from winning like the World Cup or the Super Bowl or something. They were tracking the plane on Flight Radar 24. And when they got closer to the airport, they went live from the tarmac. You could see all the people coming out. It was like some kind of outbreak, contagion, something like that, big suits on. They'd wheel out it was dramatic as hell. And of course, we've had our own one here in Scotland. Us Scots, we hate being left out of anything. So we like to dip our toe into even like killer diseases. And this lady here, Pauline Cafferkey, is our infamous Ebola victim. And get this, Scott, because Pauline Cafferkey is a Scottish nurse and aid worker who contracted Ebola virus during 2014 while working in Sierra Leone. Although she survived her initial illness, and was discharged from hospital, she has since been readmitted to hospital on several occasions. So, not happy that it didn't kill her once, but it just kept on kicking about around in there, and it just adds weight to what we're saying here, folks. Yeah. But that's my point. You do see people, like in other countries, white-skinned people do get it, but it seems to act entirely differently. And think about it. We've talked about why people in Africa have got such a strong sense of distrust when it comes to authorities, especially when they're coming from the West, right? You can look at all the vaccines that have been tested over the years, and this isn't like conspiracy stuff. It's out there, that place has basically been treated as a testing ground, like an open guinea pig farm, man.
Exactly, because like I said, the elites don't shed a tear when they die over there, right? They just that's just their testing ground, right? And it's almost like when we were talking about the whole genetically modified super soldier situation, right? What better place to test that stuff than in war zones, right? Syria, the Middle East, these areas where it's fog of war, chaos, and you don't know what's going on, and so you could test stuff like that. It's the same in Africa too. You're dealing with like third world countries where there's lots of violence. There's already people dying. There's famine, and people are impoverished, and they already have enough going on, right? They already have enough to worry about in their lives, where so they're not going to be able to really figure out, well, they're testing a bioweapon on us, right? I mean, obviously some of them figured it out or know that something's not right, but they have enough going on in their lives as it is, and so you have this mystery illness come in and start killing people, and then you have the UN, the World Health Organization, flying in, and just, you're right, it's a test bed, man. It's a test bed where they're testing all of this stuff, and
Absolutely.
All
I'm
they
going to jump in.
are collateral damage.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in, Scotty. Sorry to cut you off, but good comment from the chat here. And it's Guy Wilson. Viruses jump so fast, it would be next to impossible to keep up with new viral structures. And that is so, so true. Whether you're dealing with Ebola, and in this show, the one I was showing you a moment ago, Hot Zone, the fictional kind of side of things kicks into it as well. And there's obviously a good storyline. You need a good storyline to go along with. But basically, Scott, they're talking about how, and this is pretty much along with what Guy was saying there, how viruses, they're always looking to adapt and improve and find new ways of not only existing in the hosts that they can take, but like jumping to that new species, monkey over to the human stuff, and then taking a foothold in there and swapping out again. It's almost like you're dealing with something highly intelligent, dude.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're the ultimate organism for adapting and evolving and surviving, right? Believe me, viruses have been around on this planet way longer than we have. They are probably one of the first organisms to probably exist on this planet, and they're still here.
Imagine that panspermia and stuff like that. Literally, what if we did? What if it was a virus that came here and started mutating? The single cells, the things that were here, it might have kicked the whole process off. I don't know. I know nothing, but it's good to talk about.
Actually, you bring that up, but I think I may have heard something about, like, a theory about that possibly everything on this planet evolved from a virus. So
it would make sense, though, right? Because you see how the virus mutates and recognizes, threats and adapts accordingly. That ties in with like genetics and things, I'm very hesitant to say evolution because I know people just roll their eyes when you say that, but you know what I mean, though, how a DNA structure could evolve. I mean, things do evolve over time, Scott. That's what I'm hinting at.
Yeah. So I mean, it is. They are the ultimate adaptation organism or / evolutionary organism. They know how to survive. A virus knows how to survive, right? And like what was brought up in the chat there about how it constantly mutates and it's constantly changing its structure all the time, so you can never keep ahead of it. Well, then there you go, right there. There's the argument against vaccines, at least the flu vaccine, in my opinion. Obviously, because by the time you get the vaccine, the virus has already mutated into an entirely different structure. And so what are you protected against? You're protected against basically an old version of the virus that doesn't even exist anymore, and it's pretty much pointless, right? And they even say it themselves, right? Well, get vaccinated against this year's flu virus.
They just hope to get lucky that it hasn't evolved too much, and there's still those markers that their stuff's been set up for. But Scott is perfectly right, and this is the thing that gets me when it comes to this whole debate over vaccines and things. I look at all of them as a case by case study, because you can't just have that broad kind of brush and paint over all of them, and new ones that come along, they need to be looked at closely, obviously. So again, for me, it's not, I don't like to say, whoa, pesky, all vaccine bad, because
the science behind vaccines is real.
Oh, big time.
It works in certain cases.
It's the crap that they put in on the backside of it, the problem that's
everything that's it's everything that's backdoored and Trojan horsed into the into the vaccines.
You were right the first time.
yeah, exactly. That's the problem, right? And obviously, if the flu vaccine or if the flu virus is constantly mutating, then I think the medical industry, well, obviously they're not going to admit it because they want to make profits, right? But they need to come to terms with the fact that the flu virus or the flu vaccine does not work. It does not work. It's a virus that they will never be able to stay ahead of, and that they will never be able to wipe off the face of the planet. They just need to accept that fact. That's just the truth of the matter.
In fact, is there not a case, Scott, to actually really and truly do nothing against that, right? Because stay with me here, right? The minute we do start taking vaccines or some treatment or whatever, then said virus is going to learn from that.
Yes,
and it's gonna dictate that it's gonna actually mutate.
Yes. There's a case to be made that the vaccines are actually causing the mutations because we're dealing with a virus that adapts. It adapts and evolves itself to survive, and it's going, oh crap, I'm gonna die. There's something here that's trying to kill me. Let me mitigate it. And it'll just mutate. It'll do an automatic self-preservation method that obviously it's built into the virus's DNA, right? It's obviously built to survive.
That's all it wants to do. It's survive and thrive.
Yes, and it will do whatever is necessary in order to survive. So, yeah, I think the vaccines are actually causing it to go into more of a survival mode and triggering more mutations. Obviously, it just makes sense. And like I said, if the flu vaccine worked, and then how come the flu isn't gone like smallpox? Right? I mean, smallpox is still there.
Logic, Scott. Logic. I'm going to have to start censoring you in a moment. Talk like this is dangerous, dude. It gives people ideas. It enables them to, oh, holy heck, think for themselves. Dang, man. That's why you're a danger, Scott Lopez. That's why I've got to watch working with you, man.
I don't know. That might have got the stream demonetized.
Oh, you know it, folks. You know it. The mention. Oh, absolutely. We mentioned the V word. The minute you mention that, it's sometimes okay if I mention it because, like any AI, as good as it gets, it still has a problem mastering the accent. Yes. These AIs, they don't like Scottish accents, dude. I mean, we've looked at the Amazon people before, talking to their Amazon Alexas and things, and it's quite hilarious what kind of comes back out of the Alexa when it's trying to make sense of our Scottish brogue over here. Yes, indeed. So, yeah, I've seen somebody in the chat room was talking about the Giants coming back. I don't have a vaccination for that. I wish I did. And, hey, with some of the tweaking that's going on now, Scott, in some of the labs, I mean, we're talking weird science here, right? Is it really impossible that they can't start, creating things the height of the Nephilim? Because got a story here, talks about how scientists are reversing the aging process in rat brain stem cells, right? Well, that's cool. That's an interesting thing in itself we can get into. But if they're able to, find the gene and things, okay, that dictates your height, like me, small guy, my son Kevin, Nephilim-sized. If they can find that gene and switch it on to the big height, big go-go, I mean, is it impossible for them to bring back 9-footers sometime soon, dude?
No, I mean it's definitely possible, right? Because if you look at people who break world's tallest man records and stuff like that, people who just grow freakishly tall, right? Usually that's attributed to a genetic mutation, right? That causes they just don't stop growing. So obviously they've figured out the gene that is involved in growth. So, bust out the old CRISPR kit and put on a pair of gloves and get to cracking. We can solve that height issue for you, Kev. Don't worry.
John Nelson says I've got that anti-giant vaccine in me. I'm happy being a short ass, dude. It's all the more surprising to people when I go full stealth mode, full ninja. And as I tell my son, I was a trained killer. I was an assassin in the army, Scott. He doesn't believe for 1 minute that I was a trained killer in the army. He honestly thinks I was just sitting playing with satellites all day. Never had a gun, you know, never learned how to kill with my bare hands. I was like, come on, son. Trained killer here, British Army. No, Dad, not having any of it. And I know it might be a bit hard to believe now that at one point I was all signed up to go and give my life over for the reptilian one, but I was. I know, dude, I know. Hardest 10 weeks of my life, but by the end of it, trained killer. There you go.
Mm.
They don't expect that in somebody 5 foot nothing. You know what's even more hilarious, folks, for people out there? See Popeye? See how he looks like this big, strapping giant of a dude with this big muckle thing of a beard he's got going on? Little secret for you, and it's a very little secret. He's smaller than me!
Yes.
Smaller than me, dude.
So what you have to do with Popeye is you have to imagine the dwarves from Lord of the Rings, right? They've got the big bushy beard. They look all strong and burly, you know, if they were to just take a Facebook profile picture. But if you were to see the body as a whole, then you would get a better idea. You know, that's kind of how it goes with Popeye.
It was when I seen a picture of him at Aaron and Mel's wedding that really it all got brought home to me just how small a hobbit Popeye really is, man. I mean, he looks like he could have maybe sat in the bouquet of flowers that Mel had in her hand, like some little kind of like pocket Popeye. Just
they could have just put him on top of the cake.
They should have, dude. They should have. I'm waiting for our Skypes to light up in a moment. You pair of bastards talking about me like that. That's how we roll. It just shows that you're in good favor with me and Scotty if we're abusing you, Popeye. You know that. It's a sign of love from the guys. But hang on now. Let's see what we've got left here. We had that story about the reverse aging process. The reason I brought that up, folks, is because I don't know if any of you have checked out. I've been talking about Aaron and Mel there a couple of times, Scott. And they've got a new video out, Truth Stream Media. Yes, our good friends over at Truth Stream Media. They've got a new one out, and it's about vampirism. And, this is crazy, dude. Basically, we have to accept that vampires, this is a thing. It's not their fault either, but they're born that way, dude. And it's different from the ones that just play as vampires, that make the lifestyle choice. These are real vampires. And it was talking about Ambrosia, that company that's selling the blood and things like that. But it got me thinking about the various ways that these elites out there are trying to almost cheat death, man. But they're the ones that want to live on for hundreds of years and forever. I don't think this technology's for us, folks. They're not going to be regressing any of our age. I'm not going to be going back to 21-year-old super good-looking Kev anytime soon. I wish I was, but maybe not this week. Not this month anyway, Scott. So, I mean, it's crazy, man, whether they're uploading themselves, whether they're regressing their ages, whether they're drinking blood. And, of course, that whole blood thing, you can take that into the real deep and dark worlds that we know exist and the whole normalization of this crap going on. Dude, people talking about the giants coming back, right? And I take it that's kind of getting into biblical stuff, like shit can't go on the way it is much longer. When you hear about vampires and that being accepted in society, Scott, I think we're pretty much knocking on that door right now. In fact, we're like the vampire knocking on the door, waiting for an invitation to come in so the whole world can go to hell in a handbasket, man.
Yeah, this vampirism, it's just taking on a new form, right? It's taking on a modern technological twist, but it's something that's been going on for ages, right? The obsession with the young blood. I mean, look at Elizabeth Bathory, right? She had young girls killed and bathed in their blood because she felt that it would make her younger or whatever, There was always been this obsession with it.
I can't believe that's even a headline. Some people identify as vampires, and experts indeed, say it's time to accept them.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
No.
Scott, check this out. This is coming from MTV. So this
Oh,
is like, programming younger minds, this kind of thing.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right though. I mean, there is like a part of this where they're sort of kind of pushing the acceptance of vampirism into society, right? Like, well, it's not so bad to be a vampire.
Don't believe all the stuff you've seen in the movies. Oh man.
Yeah, and then not only that, you've seen the movies sort of glorify the vampire and turn them from like the bad guy, this nefarious thing, to look at Twilight, right? The sparkly vampires that, just kind of putting this romantic sort of image on it, as opposed to, oh, the vampires are bad dudes. You have that, but then, like you said, you have like Ambrosia and these elites that are really wanting to cheat death, with all of these technological advancements. And I think I have to agree with Ryan on this. They want to cheat death because they know that there's like this karmic debt that has to be paid, right? So they know that when their time is up in the flesh suit, they're going to have to pay the price afterwards. That this karma is going to come back around on them, and they just want to postpone that as long as possible, right? So they want to live as long as they possibly can before they have to pay that karmic debt. They know at some point it's going to happen, but they're not looking forward to it. And I wouldn't be looking forward to it either if I did the kind of crap that they do. If I was involved in the stuff that the elites are into and the things that they do, that whenever you leave the flesh suit, there's something waiting for you that you're gonna have to pay the price for. So,
And Scott, we've talked about like genuine psychopaths before, like serial killers,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But the small select few that we're talking about here, they take being a psychopath to entirely new levels, because we're talking about the kind of people that get off on launching wars and having sacrifices on genocidal scales, dude. We hear about serial killers that maybe get shocked when their death tally goes into like tens or 20s. Oh, God almighty, what a nutcase. These people have got like billions of blood on their hands. You know what I mean?
yes, exactly. And I've always said that I think that there's a very strong correlation between the
Our man says, where's Blade when you need him? Brilliant.
exactly. You know what? It made me think of the meme. It was a hilarious meme. It's one of my favorites, where it shows the dude and the chick from Twilight sitting on some stairs, and then right behind him, like in a very menacing manner, you see Blade standing behind him, and then it said how the movie should have ended. I'm like, yes, that's
get this
exactly
right,
how the
for
movie
people.
should
And I urge you folks, hang on, I'm going to find the latest from Truth Stream. I'm not going to play it on here. I mean, myself and Scotty, very good friends with Aaron and Melissa. We've not had them on the show for a while, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind us playing something from their stuff. But honestly, you need to check this out yourselves to get the full kind of effect. I'll just bring it up here so I can show.
That they're going to tell.
Oh, there she is. Yeah, here it is here. Just so I can show people. I'll drop the link in the chat room as well.
But
well worth the watch.
They're
Scott,
trying,
well worth it.
Yeah, they're kind of pushing the stuff, and it's just, I don't know,
And that's
man.
for afterwards, folks. Don't be clicking that just yet. Don't be clicking that just yet. You don't want to leave Kevin Scott and the shenanigans stream here. We're almost done. We're almost done, folks. But yeah, check that out when you get a chance. And one last thing, Scott, a quote here, just to prove that I'm not making this crap up, right? People who self-identify as vampires are often misunderstood. Well, imagine my surprise at that, right? And find themselves hesitant to reveal their identities to others, even in crucial situations involving social workers and healthcare professionals, according to a recent study from Idaho State University and College of the Canyons researchers, published in the journal Critical Social Work. These academics sought to shed light on a secretive, little-known community and the challenges it faces. But
they need to be careful about shining that light on that community, because
if you feel you were born a vampire, Scott, if people feel they were born a vampire, then they've already not really researched the whole vampire thing well enough, because I'm pretty sure you have to be kind of bitten into that brotherhood, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's very interesting. Back when I was in high school, I knew this guy. He was a compulsive liar, right? People suffer from they're compulsive liars, and he used to always tell everybody he was a 200-year-old vampire.
You mean like now when we've got like 5,000 watching this stream, Scott? Don't worry about the fact all this is 180. I promise you, it's 5,000 watching right now. My name's Dick. On you go.
Yes. Well, yeah, he used to always tell people he was a 200-year-old vampire, and I was just like,
oh, shit, dude.
Yeah, just that was one of his big stories he used to tell people, and he was dead convinced of it too. A lot of these compulsive liars tell a lie so many times that they like start believing it. You know what I mean? And just very interesting. I don't know, man. Yeah, you're right. Don't you have to be bit to become a vampire?
Yeah, and it goes on in this article, and I'm not going to, again, please watch Truth Stream Media, their latest video, but it talks about how they've got like, it differentiates as well between your just lifestyle vampires, the ones that get their teeth done, and actual people that literally feel they need to feed off the blood of animals, and this, get this, willing donors. Now, I've seen stories before about how there's people willing to be eaten by other people out there, so it doesn't surprise me that there's freaks out there that would donate their blood to a vampire. It truly doesn't surprise me, Scott. And then you think about, we mentioned Twilight, but there's another show as well called True Blood. It was round about the same time.
That's another one. Yeah, that's another one that's like normalizing it and kind of romanticizing
it sexy and cool. Vampires, when I were growing up, were awfully scary people, and yet they would come knocking at the door, and the damsel would be stupid enough to invite them in. And once you invite them in, whoa, that's it, right? Because that's the kind of the rule of the vampire world. You get invited in and shit. Yeah, I don't. I think it's a mental illness, Scott, for people to think they were born vampires. Nothing against these people, okay? But this is just, where do we stop, man? Where the fuck do we stop? Do you know what I mean? And of course, me and you, for talking like this now, discriminating against vampires. Because that's what it gets into in these loonball articles, man. So, if we're going to accept vampires, what's next? Child snatchers? People that like children? You see how it all works, folks, because, maybe they were born that way as well, like the vampires were. And, you can't discriminate against somebody because of an illness, Scotty, because they were born that way. You see how it works, Scott? You see how that works?
This is the slippery slope we've been going down for a long time.
Somebody says I watched The Lost Boys too many times now. They were cool vamps. That was the first cool vamp film.
Yeah, Lost Boys it's a classic. Yeah. It's a classic movie, man. Yeah, it's a classic. But this whole thing of like coddling everyone, or like coddling mental illness, I guess you could say. Like, I would say these people need to be helped. They need to find proper treatment. They don't need to have their delusions fed into.
Reinforced and held up, and yep.
Yeah. You're reinforcing their delusions, and you're making the situation worse for them, because instead of helping these people, like I said, you're reinforcing their delusions, and that's not good. And not only that, you're telling society that they have to reinforce the delusions of these people who are mentally disturbed. That's the even more crazy part about it, is that they're forcing people, they're forcing society to accept this, and to basically egg it on, right? And so no, this is not good, and that's why you're seeing a lot of problems in society right now. Because
dude, I'm sorry, I'm sitting here, right, and I'm thinking, fuck, I'm getting old or something, man. You know, you got LOL, WTF, all that kind of jazz going on. Seeing people in the chat room, PPP, and I'm thinking, oh god, I have no idea what this is, and I'm gonna have to look like a fool asking somebody, but somebody put it in there. Puff puff pass. Yeah.
Nice.
We like that. Yeah.
So I'm going to use an interesting example here, right?
Go for it.
And I think, it kind of shows, it'll kind of give everyone an idea, right? So we have different forms of dysphoria, the mental issue of dysphoria, right?
Horrible, man. That's horrible.
Yeah. And so you have like women who suffer from image dysphoria, right? They think they're fat, and they'll starve themselves to near death, and they believe that they're overweight. Now, generally, most those people, help will be given to them. That they see a psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever. They get help for that. Nobody generally reinforces that to them. Who could you imagine if society took that and kept telling them, yes, you're fat, you need to get skinnier, you need to keep getting skinnier. And not only that, if you don't agree with this woman who says that she's fat, even though she's about to die from starving herself to death, then you need to be silenced. You need to be shut down. You're damaging her. You're picking on her. Blah 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 blah. That's not accepted. That wouldn't be right. No, everybody pretty much is in agreement. That person needs help. She's gonna end up killing herself by starving herself to death. But then, on the flip side, you have people who have gender dysphoria, right, Kev? And why is it that when it comes to gender dysphoria, all of a sudden, well, they don't need help.
No,
maybe they're not mentally ill.
What they need is hormone replacement therapy, and of course, you men can have periods. Yeah, of course, men can have periods, Scott.
Yeah, why are you telling them that they're a woman or a man because they're actually that biologically? No. They think they're something else. So you could see how it's like. On one hand, you wouldn't encourage a woman with image dysphoria who thinks she's overweight. You wouldn't feed into her delusion. But when it comes to somebody who has gender dysphoria, well, then it's okay to feed into that delusion and push it on the masses. So
Scott, I've said it often before, right? If I went to the doctor and told him there's something wrong with my hand, I want to get 3 of my fingers chopped off, he would rightly send me for psychological evaluation and probably lock me up, till he gets my mental kind of state sussed out. if I go in and ask him to lop off the big man, Big Kev, hey, cool. We can arrange that for you, man. Not only can we arrange that for you, right? But now you're like in this special group that you've got an invisible cloak of protection because nobody can discriminate against you, right? So it's cool, man.
Yes. So it's very interesting how that works. It's very interesting, the hypocrisy on that subject, on that matter. And so then that goes into, well, then is there a certain agenda being pushed? And is a certain group of people who have this dysphoria issue, they're being exploited, right? I have nothing against a person who is trans or whatever.
Before people think I'm laughing at trans people and things, I'm not. I'm looking at the chat room. I'm not being the most insensitive asshole on the internet right now. I'm not.
Yes, you have. Yes, you are. You're showing your privilege right now.
Oh, it's oozing out of me, dude. It's oozing out of me. I'm gonna go and dude, I'm still losing sleep over like the slaves and shit like that, man. I've got so much guilt to get out of me, dude. I don't know if I'm gonna get asleep again.
Yeah. I know. But no, really though. I mean, these people are being exploited.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're just as much victims as everyone else. That whole group of people, they're being exploited for political reasons.
Yep.
And for an agenda, right? And so it's no different than taking advantage of anyone else with a mental disability and using them for something, right? So like I said, I have nothing against people who are trans. I think they're just people who need help.
They're just people.
They're just people. Yeah, they're people.
Yeah.
They're people, but they need to find help for their issues. As opposed to having somebody feed into their delusions, they need to be able to work out their problems and find the proper treatment, and so that they can live a better life. Because we look at the statistics of how many people in the trans community end up committing suicide, right? And I think if they were to have the proper treatment, proper care, you could mitigate that, cut that down. So
yep. And I was laughing, folks. I was laughing because Kristen, one of our absolutely brilliant mods out there, you tell you, man, we've got like some of the best mods in the business here. We really do. But Kristen was saying, she was laughing, right? Because, demonetizing the stream, stuff like that, because we talked about the Ebola. And she says, well, you could use another word instead of the vaccination word. I could use the vag word. I could just call them vaginas. And then the algorithm will know what I'm talking about, right? Those dangerous vaginas out there, the flu vagina, the Ebola vagina. The more vaginas, the merrier, Scott.
Yes.
I think one is exposed to about, 20 vaginas one's exposed to in the first year of your life? It's got to be traumatic, dude. It's got to be highly traumatic, man.
Yeah, that's...
We have. Well, we're going to dip our toe into the chat room, right? We're going to see what's happening with some of these cool people out there. And I heard somebody was saying, oh, no. Oh, dude, at Kev Baker. I don't know if that was like they'd lost hope in me or they were just laughing along with me. Or I don't know. Maybe somebody thinks I need help out there. But we're going to see whatever you want us to talk about, type it now. Because I and Scotty Boy, we're looking at the chat room. We're going to stay for about an hour. 5-10 minutes, depending on how much you can entertain us in the chat room now. Nancy's laughing away to herself. Anyway, Mr. Mensa. The beard hurts my eyes. Okay, now I need to follow this conversation back. The beard's hurting people's eyes? Really? Dang, dude. Right.
I think it's looking better, Kev, as it fills in. It's when the initial growth starts to happen is when it kind of has the creepy look. And I have the same issue too. Like if I don't shave for about a week or so, it kind of starts coming in patchy, and you get kind of the old Chester molester look.
I've told you before, Scott. I've told you before. bearded men are victimized. We're targeted unfairly because, hey,
I
how
think
were we
so.
meant to know? How were we meant to know that some people out there find the beard so attractive? Without triggering too many algorithm jokes right now.
But if you just commit to it, Kev, if you just commit to it and let it keep going, then it just gets better from there.
I hope
you
so,
start
dude, 'cause-
losing you start losing the creep factor starts to go away, and you start looking more like a burly man's man.
Well, somebody's asking, do we think that Bill and Hill, as Uni Rock calls them, are still in the country? Who cares? Who cares? What, you know, I don't know. Weird hair shit. Personal point of privilege. The strobes on my screen hurt my... it's the background video. Yes, well, Scott has been helping. He's got us some new backgrounds to play about with as well. I'm starting to get a bit better on the After Effects. So, Kristen, since it was you and you asked so nicely, I will sort that for the next stream. We will have a brand new background. I'm actually putting together something very Matrixy looking, Scott, as well. So, yeah, next time we've got Popeye on, since he is like the expert on the Matrix. And you know what? I think I'm going to get him on I think we're going to get him on, right? And I think we're... Kev Baker. Kristen, she says, you need to see the video from the Democratic Socialists of America that's out there. I'll try to find it to you. Oh, have we seen that? We could pull it up Yeah, we could pull it up for a little blast. We could give our reaction to the first 5 minutes of that. I don't mind. I think that'd be a good way to take us out. James Crimmy. Hey, Kev. Love you, man. Can you extrapolate on that? I don't know what part I'm to extrapolate on. Well, we've got Scowling Wolf. I do like a beardy man. Love it. We like that. Somebody's birthday. Happy birthday, Papa. Is it Whistle's birthday? It's a joke. You need to see the video to get it. No, we've seen we have watched bits of that.
Yeah.
The jazz hands and
the jazz
people,
hands.
you need to stop talking and making a noise. It's really, really unsettling to me. I'll get my frilly knickers in a twist.
She's referring to the fact that the person who said point of privilege about the background on your screen, that they were triggered by your background. That was the joke.
See,
because sensory overload.
You see, Scott. You see what happens when I don't have somebody here to keep me right. See, I could have gone down a whole alleyway that was just a false. I could have been putting out fake news there because I was looking at comments the wrong way, dude. You see? See what bloody happens?
Change your background for no reason.
No. I want to find one that triggers people even more. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do it, though. You know what we could do? Since you, audience, have been absolutely fantastic, and I've got the link. Thank you, Kristen. I've got that. Thanking you. Let's see now. Oh, no. Oh, that's weird, Scott.
Oh, boy. That didn't work out so well, did it?
No. There we go. There we go. I'll copy it. I'll copy it. That was weird. I didn't think that would happen, did?
Yeah, that was
just copy that.
Pretty wild.
Right, I know what we're going to do. Before we leave, before myself and Scott go back about our daily business, I am going to find for all of you out there something we did to Joe.
Ah, yes, we're going to have to give them the sneak peek.
Yeah, because, listen, I wanted to use this picture as the thumbnail for the show. However, Joe's not well. And I don't just mean his obvious mental health issues that he displays on a weekly basis. I mean, he's physically not well today. He's poorly sick, right? So I thought, A, Joe's not going to be here. And B, a funny feeling this photograph is probably known by the algorithm, right? It's going to be able to recognize when people are talking about this shit. So I thought, probably not the best thing to use. We talked the E word tonight, that pesky Ebola, and that'll get you demonetized quicker than talking about these characters that really, really will. So what did I do to Joe? What did I do to Joe? Well, there's an infamous painting that's doing the circles right now. I think we all have seen it, and once you have seen it, you can't unsee it. It's Bill
Yes, it was
Clinton in that
on-
bloody dress, right? What the is that all about, Scott?
Dude, talk about weird.
Well,
You know,
there's
we
only
talk
one thing, probably only one thing more disturbing than Bill Clinton in the blue dress. Well, it's our Photoshop model, isn't it? It's Joe Joseph. It's disturbing how well he looks in this picture. So, folks, get ready. This is the stream that probably nobody will be able to forget for all the wrong reasons after you see this. But Joe Joseph, as you've never seen him before, and man, oh man, I hope we never see him like this again. Look at that, folks. There he is.
Ooh.
There's our friend Joe. And people wonder why he's not on the show this week. It's quite obvious. He's been busted. He was hanging on the wall of that bad guy. Remember? Look at him. Look how dashing he looks with his red heels on, Scott.
You know, yeah, that's why he's not on the show today. He's busy modeling. He's modeling for budding artists out there who want to paint him like one of their French girls, you know. So
somebody says he has Ebola virus. Honestly, dang. Yeah, people are getting a good laugh at that, quite rightly so. Some of my finest work there, Scott. Finest work.
Yes, it's a classic. It's a classic. That is going in the special Photoshop War folder. That will be preserved in the annals of history. You know, you've come a long way, Kev, in your Photoshop skills. You know, I remember way back in the day, years ago, whenever we first started the Photoshop wars.
They were bad, dude. They were grim, man. They were bad, you know.
But you know, you've had a lot to work with. Joe has provided many hours of Photoshop practice for everyone, and I think we've all become better Photoshoppers thanks to Joe.
It's not even the first time that Joe's had a brush with one of these characters, because I mean there he is as well.
Oh my goodness.
That's a disturbing.
A very disturbing one.
Yeah, but you know, Mr. Geo, I showed him I had to show him the kind of creepy Bill picture with Joe in it, and he's like, you know, Kev, you really ought to do a series of creepy Joe Biden ones. And I was thinking, hey, something rings a bell with me there, man. I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's in this folder. Please tell me it's in this folder. But I've already done Creepy Joe. Right, there he is. There's Creepy Joe there. Joe Joseph is the face that just loves to give. You know? So, yeah. That's... I know, Scott, I know. I'm taking liberties, but Joe loves it. He knows it's a sign of affection, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And believe me, he'll get his revenge somehow next time he's on. You know, Joe.
Look, he's even working for CNN.
Oh, yes, he is.
See, that's when he denied he touched that woman's arm. Joe's at that all the time, man. He's terrible. That's bad. It's bad that we've abused him so badly tonight when he's in his deathbed sick. That's not good. Look how bad I feel, Scott. I feel rotten. Taking advantage of him. Yeah, but we are out of time, folks. As you can tell, we've come to the end of our nonsense, our madness. And I want to thank Kristen. Come on, Scott. Let's show Joe some jazz hand. There we go. Yes, Joe. Yeah. Woo. We love you, Joe. Absolutely, man. And next week, then, when Joe's back, we'll dive into that video, because we still haven't really reacted to it properly. And that's the kind of gold, democratic, socialist shit show party. That's the kind of clip that's never going to get stale, man. It's going to just keep on giving.
That was the biggest mistake they could have made was live streaming that. You know what I mean? I mean, that was like, wow. Wow. And so,
But Scott, as we slip closer towards a world akin to idiocracy, doesn't it make sense that these kind of things are going to be on the increase? And parties like that, can you imagine they start becoming literally appealing to the NPCs, the brainwashed out there? They're going to think this is the best thing, right? No discrimination and all this. Well, caring about everyone's feelings to the point of being retarded about it, dude.
well, that look, that whole Democratic Socialist Convention, that whole shit show, that is a perfect example of what I was talking about people's delusions being fed into, right? Because everybody there, I mean, there you could tell there were a lot of people there who had legit mental issues, and what happened? Everybody around them fed into it. Everyone around them reinforced their mental problems, and that's the result. That was the result of is what we saw in that video. That's what happens when you do that. So,
Dude, my day is complete, right? Because I love coming here to hang out with you, with Joe, Ryan, Charlie, when he's been on. Popeye, this is just us hanging, chilling, and we get to hang with the audience and they get to see us and shit. But I know, right? I'm never going to be the one that breaks any big story, no big scoops, nothing like that. But to see Kristen in the chat room saying, I'm laughing so hard in real life, this show has the best ending. Kristen, that's exactly the way that I want people to round out the week. It's exactly how I want us to start the new week. Because if you can't laugh at this point, you're not paying attention. Because I tell you, man, it's like living in we're in a comedy reality show, dude. We must be, Scott. We're literally talking about now where not only are vampires a thing, but shit, you've got to literally invite them into your own home so they don't feel discriminated against, man. Do they know nothing about vampires?
yeah, we're literally living in clown world right now. That's why that meme exists.
Oh,
Scott,
and kill time till I get it up, Scott. Kill time. I need my horn, man.
And look, that's the whole point why we do this, people. That was the whole point of why we decided to start doing the live stream during the weekends. We want to lighten things up. We want to make people laugh. Yeah, sure. We'll talk about. We'll talk about important issues and stuff like that. But we got to put a humorous twist on everything, right? It just you can't be so serious all the time, and you got to be able to laugh at everything and just go, you know what we do? We live in clown world. You might as well just make the best of it. Laugh at what you can, and if we can make you guys laugh out there, get a chuckle out of somebody, then we've done our job.
Exactly. And the only way to navigate this world right now, I think, is to do it with a smile on your face, because if not, it can get really, really depressing really, really quickly. And the more you stare at the information and the more hours you put into research and the deeper down rabbit holes you go, you can lose sight of the fact that there's still a real world out there.
Yep.
And you have to be able to enjoy yourself. As good as it is to build up that knowledge base, don't let the information define you. In other words, don't live in the fear that some of it is generated to create. I used to be there, Scott. I'm speaking from experience to people, I've totally been there. I was running to YouTube every 5 minutes pre-2012, thinking all that stuff. And so don't think I'm like patronizing anyone or being condescending. I'm just telling you, folks, there's a big, big world out there. And yeah, sure, there's darkness, but there's a whole heap of good stuff going on as well. There really is. And usually you find that right around you. People close to you, local. Think global, act local. And again, I think it was our good friend Popeye used to say that. And it's a very good rule of thumb when it comes to all of these things, because I'm telling you, looking at all of the information in the world isn't going to change it. But what if you can change somebody's life in your community? Well, just helping somebody across the road that maybe struggles, that you just help them in their life. You just made their life that day a little bit better. Little acts, things like that. That can go a long way to changing the bigger picture if we all started doing things like that. So with my philosophical head on, Scott, I will let you say your Cheerios to our wonderful audience, where I know there's no bots out there. And I know Kristen got kind of identified as a bot one night in the chat room. Hilarious. If she is a bot, then she's definitely one of Elon Musk's bots, because it seems pretty human to me.
Yeah. That pretty good bot then, if that's the case. No, thanks everyone. Shout out to everybody out there in the chat. It was great. Great to be able to make you guys laugh and stuff like that. And just like Kev said, I've been there too. We've all been there. I think that's why you see a lot of people. What we got going on?
Bill O'Connell. I've been trying unsuccessfully to unsubscribe from Paul Begley on YouTube. Doesn't let me. That's
What?
weird. Seriously?
Are you serious?
See, why is that? I mean, no, I wouldn't want to see anybody's channel locked down or anything like that. Far from it, dude, okay? But when you're like making like 2 prophecies a week and they all keep coming and going and nothing happens, at some stage you have to think to yourself, come on, man. This is like snake oil shit going on here, But the subscribers keep flying up. There's always new people coming to the apocalypse, dude.
Yeah, there's always a sucker born every day, right? And somebody drawn in. And then if there's like some weird shenanigans going on where people can't unsubscribe, then that's very interesting, because you bait in a bunch of new people, and then those subscribers are there forever, because even if they want to leave, they can't. It's kind of creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, Joe Monculus is always creepy. So we'll have a Joe Monculus up there for the remaining 2 seconds of the show. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. We like having a bit of a laugh, bit of a joke. Like Scott said, we also cover some really serious topics as well. But not to tell you what to think, just to encourage you to think for yourself. Because most of the time, you probably listen to me and Scott, and you're going to disagree with things we say. That's good. That's really, really good, because you need to listen to more and more opinions, and even more important, you listen to opinions and ideas that challenge your own, that maybe fly in the face of your own. And that, it can lead to, revelations. You can learn something new. You can also build upon ideas and theories that you've got forming in your own minds, because nobody is better than anyone else in this game. And just because you watch somebody here on YouTube, or somebody's a radio show, it means nothing in reality. It really it means nothing in this game, because we're all just the same. None of us are getting famous here. None of us want to be famous. We're just those mouthpieces, Scott. We're just the ones that put ourselves out there, but doesn't make us any more important than anyone else out there.
Yeah, we're just guys who have internet access and the ability to stream. That's all we are.
Literally.
Really?
So we will be back next week. I'll be back tomorrow on KBS with Charlie Robinson, the octopus of global control. Somebody that the algorithm definitely doesn't like, and that's usually a mark of respect from the virtual world. Why? Because Charlie comes on not only with some of the best researched information that you'll find, but he doesn't hold back, and he doesn't care who he names and who he shames. And he backs it all up with stuff that you can go and check out for yourself. And that is what makes him absolutely brilliant. So I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. Scott will probably be on one day during the week if he would care to join me. And if he's got time, we'll be able to hang out on there. We'll simulcast again. We'll do our thing. I want to thank all of you for tuning in today, for supporting this show, for supporting all of your favorite shows. Really, really does mean the world to people that are doing this. And again, back next weekend, hopefully with Joe, hopefully with Popeye, we'll try and rope the Popeye in for an experience from his mansion out in the kind of swamp in Florida.
Just go ahead and plan for it to be demonetized, because anytime the beard shows up, YouTube decides to throw a little shit fit for whatever reason.
I think maybe what if it's discriminating against things with like dudes with neck beards and beards? It might think we're just naturally toxic because it's been taught on data sets that hint that beard.
You should file a lawsuit, say he's being oppressed and that he's
not the only lawsuit YouTube are fighting right now. Let me tell you. A bunch of LGBTQ ABC 123 XYZ hieroglyph, because I don't know how many different groups are all joined into that anymore, but they're suing YouTube. I don't know the full details of the case, Scott, but they say they've been discriminated against by the algorithm. Pesky algorithm. Who knows? We'll keep an eye on it. So, until next time, ladies, gents, interdimensional creepers, witches, wizards, warlocks, aliens, vampires, especially vampires. We welcome all vampires here because we would hate to discriminate against anything that's looking at us trying to figure out whether we're good enough to eat or not. You know? It's just the way that the world rolls nowadays. So back to some really cool music, and we are out of here. Look at that one, Scott. You know, if you hear that music and you see a vampire coming down the street, man, run.
It's totally got that vibe to it.
And it, dude. And it, you can like see the kind of smoky road, the feet just walking down it, dude. And that knock at the door, man. And then you open the door and it's one of those things that reads the books, like the big trannies from the library. Holy heck, man. But don't discriminate. Don't discriminate, Scott, because this was born a vampire, dude. Born a vampire. Dude looks like a vampire. That should be the Aerosmith new song, right? Maybe if we go back with Mandela, dude doesn't look like a lady anymore. Dude looks like a vampire. We're out of here.